There is a world above us that we almost never truly see. A drifting, shimmering realm made of wind currents, whispered thermals, and invisible roads traced only by wings. A world where time moves differently, where the horizon bends gently beneath a beating heart, and where every sunrise unfolds from a vantage point humans were never meant to reach. Birds cross this hidden dimension every day, gliding through layers of the atmosphere that hold stories millions of years old, stories of migration, instinct, memory, and a form of perception so delicate and precise that it borders on the impossible. And tonight, we are invited to step silently into that world. As your mind begins to settle, imagine the air around you softening, becoming weightless, almost feather-like. In this gentle stillness, the boundaries of the body loosen, and the mind rises effortlessly, as if caught by a slow and steady current. The human brain responds deeply to imagery of flight. Studies show that visualizing open skies and smooth gliding motions naturally lowers neural activity in the prefrontal cortex, allowing the deeper networks of the brain to guide you into rest. As you drift into this quieter rhythm, it becomes easier to sense the ancient intelligence woven into the lives of birds, an intelligence shaped not by language or logic, but by the subtle geometry of the earth itself. There is a world above the earth, suspended just beyond ordinary human awareness, a vast and quietly moving ocean of air that only birds truly inhabit. It is a realm shaped by invisible rivers of temperature and pressure, currents that bend and twist like slow, wandering tides. From the ground, we see the sky as a flat sheet of blue, but for birds, it is a landscape layered, structured, and alive. They travel through this shifting architecture with a grace born not from strength, but from an ancient partnership with the atmosphere itself. To watch a bird in flight is to witness a dialogue between body and wind, instinct and gravity, motion and intention. And yet, even when we look carefully, we perceive only the surface of a secret world. A world where the rules of Earth feel softened, where the horizon curves gently with each wingbeat, and where silence carries the memory of migration routes older than human civilization. As your awareness begins to slow, imagine rising into that quiet world not by effort, but by allowing your thoughts to drift upward like a feather released into warm air. The mind responds deeply to the imagery of flight. Neuroscientists have found that scenes of effortless gliding reduce activity in the brain's executive networks, creating space for calmer, deeper rhythms to emerge. In this softened landscape of thought, the boundary between body and sky seems to dissolve. You may sense an internal lightness, a subtle loosening in the chest or the shoulders, as if your body instinctively echoes the feeling of wings unfolding. This response is not imagined. It is rooted in mirror neuron pathways that simulate motion, allowing the brain to experience the serenity of flight even while perfectly still. And so, as you breathe slowly, a gentle spaciousness spreads through your inner world, broad, open, and unhurried. Across millions of years, birds have developed a perception of Earth that is almost otherworldly. They sense magnetic fields through the proteins in their eyes, seeing faint directional patterns where we see only darkness. They read the temperature of the air not with instruments, but with the delicate architecture of their feathers. Some species carry maps encoded in memory, guiding them across continents with a precision humans can barely comprehend. To imagine their experience is to imagine sensing the planet itself as a living guide, feeling the subtle tug of the North Pole, the rising of distant storms, the shape of the land hidden beneath clouds. Their world is not built of streets or cities, but of vast, flowing forces that weave themselves into every breath of wind. And as you picture this, your mind may drift even further into stillness, gently aligning with that ancient, weightless rhythm of navigation. Far above the noise of human life, in the thin, shimmering layers of the upper air, birds move through something that resembles a dream. The light changes there, softer, more diffuse, and the sounds of earth fade until only a faint hum remains. This quiet environment mirrors the state your mind enters as you fall towards sleep. Brain waves lengthen, thoughts lose their edges, and inner landscapes begin to unfold with the fluidity of sky. It is no coincidence that images of slow flight appear in the first stages of dreaming. The brain instinctively uses these gentle motions to ease the body into deeper restorative cycles. As you picture the slow rhythm of wings gliding across an endless horizon, your breathing naturally synchronizes with that motion, settling into a steady, calming flow that allows the parasympathetic system to take full control. And perhaps the most extraordinary idea of all is this: every bird, no matter how small or ordinary it may seem, experiences a version of Earth that humans will never fully access. A world where the air has texture, where direction has color, where distance is measured not in kilometers, but in the rise and fall of invisible currents. They navigate through a dimension we can only imagine, a dimension built of wind, warmth, light, and the subtle pull of the magnetic field beneath them. Tonight, as you rest, the doorway to that world opens gently in the mind, not to lift you away, but to guide you into a deeper peace, a slower rhythm, a quiet, drifting awareness where thought becomes as soft as the sound of wings fading into dusk. Birds live in a sensory universe far more refined than our own, shaped by millions of years of evolution in open air. Their hearts beat with astonishing speed, up to 1,200 times per minute in smaller species, yet their movements feel weightless, almost effortlessly calm. This paradox is part of their design, a hollow skeletal structure that reduces weight by nearly half, paired with a respiratory system unlike any other on Earth. While humans breathe in cycles, birds breathe in loops, moving air through their lungs in a continuous flow that delivers oxygen with remarkable efficiency. This uninterrupted rhythm allows them to glide for hours without strain, and as you picture this steady circulation, the mind begins to mimic it, breathing becoming smoother, slower, more even, like the gentle passage of wind through the body of a resting bird. Beyond the physical, their sensory world is subtly extraordinary. Many birds see ultraviolet light, revealing patterns on flowers, feathers, and landscapes completely invisible to humans. To them, the world glows with hidden signals, guides, warnings, invitations, all encoded in wavelengths our eyes cannot detect. Picturing this soft ultraviolet shimmer can have a calming effect on the mind, allowing the visual cortex to settle as though gazing into a muted, dreamlike field of color. Neuroscientists have observed that when the brain imagines patterns it cannot fully interpret, it enters a quieter state, relying less on conscious analysis and more on diffuse, restful processing. In this way, even the mystery of how birds see contributes to a gentle settling inside you. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of avian biology is their sense of navigation. Many species possess magnetoreception, a biological compass hidden within the proteins of their eyes. Scientists believe that certain molecules, cryptochromes, allow birds to perceive the Earth's magnetic field as faint shifting shapes or gradients superimposed on the visual world. Imagine for a moment drifting through the sky with a subtle blue glow always pointing north, a quiet guide that never speaks, never demands, simply aligns you with the world beneath. This mental image often mirrors the slow alignment of brainwaves as the mind moves from wakefulness into deeper rest, beta rhythms softening into alpha, then into the slow tidal waves of theta. As orientation becomes effortless, so does relaxation. Their memory systems are equally profound. The hippocampus of a migratory bird can enlarge by nearly a third during migration season, allowing it to recall thousands of landmarks across vast continents. Some species navigate with such precision that they return to the same tree, the same branch, year after year, as if guided by an internal map older than any human invention. Visualizing this immense memory, vast, detailed, but carried with gentle ease, helps loosen the tightness of human thought. The mind no longer feels the need to hold everything at once. Instead, it drifts, trusting its own deeper networks to guide it in their own quiet way. Even the way birds sleep carries a kind of softness that resonates with the drifting mind. Many species practice unihemispheric sleep, resting one half of the brain while the other remains slightly awake, keeping watch. This unusual ability allows them to sleep while flying long distances or floating on open water. It is a sleep both alert and peaceful, protective yet restorative. As you imagine this half-dreaming state, your own mind may slip into a similar balance, still faintly aware of the present moment, yet gently releasing its grip, allowing the body to settle into a deeper, safer rest. Each breath becomes an invitation, each exhale a slow release, as though the boundaries of thought themselves were folding softly like wings settling for the night. And in the vast quiet of evening skies, birds become part of a rhythm older than any species. They rise and fall on atmospheric tides, responding to pressures and temperatures with subtle shifts of feather and muscle. These forces are all around us, even now, shaping the air in your room in microscopic ways, soft movements, gentle currents, patterns of warmth that calm the skin and steady the heartbeat. To imagine these invisible landscapes, these slow rivers of air, is to let the mind drift in harmony with them. And slowly, without effort, thoughts begin to thin, attention widens, and the quiet, featherlight world that only birds know becomes a pathway into your own deeper rest. Birds have evolved an astonishing mastery over the structure of air, something humans rarely pause to imagine. The feathers that seem so delicate and weightless are, in reality, finely engineered tools of aerodynamics. Each feather contains tiny interlocking barbs that can seal together to create a smooth, continuous surface, then separate effortlessly when needed to shift airflow. This allows birds to control turbulence with millimeter-level precision, redirecting wind around their bodies in ways that feel almost intuitive. When scientists studied the airflow patterns around gliding birds, they discovered rolling spirals of air vortices forming and dissolving in perfect harmony with each wing shape. As you imagine these soft spirals turning slowly in the sky, the mind naturally follows their rhythm, drifting into quieter, longer waves of thought, as though coasting on a thermal of your own. The communication systems of birds are equally subtle and intricate. Their calls, which to us may sound like simple notes, are often layered with meaning warnings, invitations, coordinates, even emotional states. Some birds produce songs that can last hours, composed of repeated phrases arranged with mathematical precision. Others communicate through body language so refined that a tilt of the head or a soft ruffle of feathers conveys complex information. These gentle gestures mirror the micro-expressions of human emotion, the quiet signals we send without words. And imagining this soft, non-verbal world pulls the brain away from the sharpness of language, easing activity in the prefrontal regions responsible for speech and analysis. What remains is a calm, receptive awareness, an openness similar to the early stages of sleep, where thoughts float without urgency. The social structures of birds reveal an intelligence that feels both alien and beautifully familiar. Many species form lifelong bonds, recognizing their partners through sound alone, even across vast distances. Others travel in immense flocks, moving with a synchrony that seems almost musical. This coordination is not led by any single bird. Instead, it emerges from simple rules followed by each individual: maintain distance, match speed, align direction. Together, these rules generate sweeping patterns in the sky called murmuration waves, where thousands of birds twist and fold like silk drifting in wind. Observing these patterns, even in imagination, activates regions of the human brain linked to awe and tranquility, quieting internal chatter and creating a slow, expansive flow of attention that gently supports sleep. Beneath all this, their internal physiology maintains a balance remarkably suited to constant motion. Their bones, though hollow, are supported by thin, reinforced struts that give strength without weight. Their muscles degrade far more slowly than those of land animals, an adaptation that allows long migratory flights without fatigue. Even their blood carries oxygen with higher efficiency, enabling sustained effort with less metabolic strain. When you picture this balanced structure, light yet strong, swift yet calm, your own nervous system subtly mirrors the sensation. Muscles soften, the breath becomes quieter, and tension disperses as though your body were releasing unnecessary weight, preparing itself for rest. But perhaps the most peaceful aspect of avian life is the way birds interact with the natural cycles of the earth. They read the position of the sun with uncanny precision, adjusting their paths by fractions of a degree as light shifts across the sky. At night, they navigate by constellations, aligning their internal clocks to the soft, rhythmic pulse of starlight. Inside their tiny brains lies a molecular timekeeper, the circadian clock that responds to even the faintest changes in day length. This clock guides migration, sleep, feeding, and even memory formation. As you sense this slow cosmic rhythm, the rise and fall of daylight, the turning of seasons, the body begins to resonate with a similar pattern. Heart rate slows, thoughts stretch out. The mind becomes gently aligned with the larger cycles around you, drifting toward a deeper, quieter kind of rest. And in the silence of evening skies, as the last warm currents fade and the world cools into softness, birds settle their wings and lower their breathing into a calm, steady rhythm. It is a moment of surrender, a gentle yielding to the safety of night. Imagining this effortless descent into stillness invites your own body to follow. The breath becomes like a feather drifting downward. The thoughts become soft, almost translucent, and slowly, without any push or intention, your awareness begins to lower itself calmly, steadily into the restful darkness beneath waking life. Long before birds ever touched the sky, their ancestors walked the earth as feathered reptiles, creatures whose bodies were already beginning to experiment with the architecture of flight. Feathers did not begin as tools for soaring. They first evolved for insulation, for warmth, to trap small pockets of air close to the skin. Over millions of years, these simple structures grew more elaborate, flattening, lengthening, aligning themselves into the elegant aerodynamic surfaces we now know as wings. When paleontologists study early feathered dinosaurs, they find traces of this transformation written in delicate fossil impressions, patterns that reveal how each generation refined the ability to catch the wind. As you imagine these ancient shapes drifting through prehistoric forests, a deep time awareness settles in the mind, soothing the busy sense of the present and inviting a quieter, slower contemplation. Within the brain of a modern bird lies an architecture that is unexpectedly sophisticated. Although small, their brains are densely packed with neurons, sometimes twice as many as mammals of the same size. In particular, regions involved in problem-solving and memory are remarkably advanced. Some species, like corvids and parrots, demonstrate planning, tool use, and even forms of reasoning once believed to be uniquely human. Yet the intelligence of birds does not express itself through noise or complexity. It expresses itself through efficiency. Neural circuits fire in elegant, minimal patterns, conserving energy while achieving remarkable outcomes. For a resting mind, this imagery of efficient thought, quiet, precise, unhurried, sets the stage for deeper mental calm, allowing your own neural activity to become more streamlined and peaceful. The sleep patterns of birds contain a subtle wisdom shaped by their environment. Unlike humans, who rely on long periods of continuous rest, birds often sleep in short episodes scattered throughout the day and night. Some species enter slow-wave sleep for mere seconds at a time, dipping briefly into rest before rising again to alertness. When migrating across oceans, they maintain flight while allowing half of their brain to rest, alternating hemispheres with a rhythm so smooth that the body never falters. Scientists have observed that during these moments, wing beats become slightly shallower and more consistent, mirroring the stable breathing patterns of deep relaxation. As you visualize this gentle oscillation effort and rest blending seamlessly, the body naturally begins to imitate it, finding a rhythm that supports slipping gently towards sleep. Their perception of sound is equally remarkable. Many birds can detect frequencies far beyond human hearing, and their auditory systems can isolate individual notes in dense, overlapping environments like forests or large flocks. This ability is supported by a structure in the inner ear known as the basilar papilla, which is finely tuned to subtle variations in pitch. When they listen, their brains store not only melodies but also spatial cues, echoes, distances, and directions woven into a three-dimensional map of their surroundings. Imagining this kind of listening deep, spacious, effortlessly attentive encourages your own awareness to widen, becoming less focused on specific thoughts and more open to the soft textures of the present moment. It is a mental stance closely related to early-stage sleep, where sensory input continues but loses its sharpness. Even their bones, light as they are, carry traces of evolutionary ingenuity. The hollow chambers inside are supported by thin, cross-braced structures known as trabeculae, which distribute force while maintaining minimal weight. When a bird glides, these internal frameworks hum with subtle vibrations, transmitting the shape of the air itself through the body. These vibrations are not random. They inform the bird about wind speed, direction, turbulence, another silent conversation with the sky. Visualizing these gentle internal tremors, these whisper-like signals flowing through bone and feather, offers the mind a similar sensation, a faint, calming awareness of the space around you, softening the boundary between body and air and allowing each breath to deepen naturally. Their world at dusk is perhaps the most peaceful of all. As the sun lowers, temperature gradients shift, and the air becomes denser and more stable. Birds sense these changes instantly, adjusting their wings with tiny micro-movements that require no conscious effort. Some species gather in quiet roosts, huddling together for warmth. Others perch alone, letting the last warmth of the day settle into their feathers. The calm that fills the sky in these moments mirrors the state your own body begins to enter, limbs heavy, breath slow, thoughts drifting like silhouettes against fading light. In this softness, the world becomes simpler, quieter, shaped only by the steady rhythm of your breathing and the gentle descent into rest. The world beneath a bird's wings is shaped by forces we rarely feel consciously. Air is not empty, it is a fluid, moving with gradients of pressure and temperature that shift from moment to moment. Birds read these gradients with extraordinary precision. Tiny mechanoreceptors at the base of their feathers, called Herbst corpuscles, detect the most delicate movements of air, vibrations as soft as a breath passing across the skin. These receptors allow a bird to feel the sky the way humans feel water while floating, sensing currents, swirls, and invisible rivers flowing around the body. Imagining these faint currents passing over you creates a similar effect. In the nervous system, muscles loosen, the mind softens, and your awareness drifts into that quiet inner space where everything feels fluid and unhurried. Their respiratory system, too, carries a deeply calming rhythm. Unlike mammals, birds use a unidirectional flow of air through their lungs, which means fresh oxygen moves continuously in one direction, even as they exhale. This creates an elegant, uninterrupted cycle of breathing, smooth, circular, efficient. When researchers mapped these airflow patterns, they found looping arcs that resembled slow spirals, gently rising and falling like a tide. It is easy to imagine this continuous breath flowing through the body of a gliding bird, supporting movement without strain. And as you picture this, your own breath subtly begins to mimic that circular pattern, longer inhales, slower exhales, each one smoothing out the edges of thought as the nervous system slips deeper toward rest. Their hearts, capable of astonishing speeds in flight, slow dramatically in moments of stillness. At night, when birds settle into roosting positions, heart rate and metabolic activity drop as their bodies shift into a restorative mode. This transition is guided by the parasympathetic nervous system, the same system that helps humans fall asleep. But in birds, the shift is incredibly efficient. They can enter deep rest within seconds, their internal organs aligning themselves to a calmer rhythm almost instantly. Visualizing this swift surrender into rest helps your own body release tension more easily. Muscles soften and the breath deepens, mirroring the ease with which a bird relaxes its wings and allows darkness to cradle it. Their vision is another window into a world that moves more softly than ours. Birds possess some of the most advanced eyes in the animal kingdom, capable of perceiving motion that would appear frozen to human senses. A bird sees the flicker of a leaf, the trembling of a spider's thread, the shimmer of distant heat waves rising from the ground. Yet when night falls, their perception changes. Some species lower their visual sensitivity to preserve energy. Others shift into a more monochrome mode, seeing the world in soft gradients of grey. This dimming of sensory input mirrors the way the human brain gradually reduces sensory responsiveness as sleep approaches. Imagining the world gently losing detail, colors softening into shadows, edges becoming blurred, invites the mind into that same twilight state, calm, muted, and ready for dreams. Their internal clock's intricate circadian systems, shaped by millions of years, govern every aspect of their behavior with graceful precision. These biological timekeepers are tuned to the smallest shifts in daylight, adjusting feeding, migration, molting, and sleep patterns with remarkable fidelity. Light enters the bird's eyes and travels deep into the brain, synchronizing these rhythms to the rotation of the earth itself. The idea of being aligned so closely with the planet's turning, of living in harmony with sunrise, sunset, and the slow breathing of seasons brings a profound sense of grounding. As you attune to this image, you may feel your own internal rhythm settling, aligning with something broader and calmer, allowing each breath to unfold as naturally as dusk settling over a quiet forest. And as night spreads across the sky, birds retreat to hidden branches, cliffs, or sheltered hollows. Their silhouettes soften, their bodies fold into compact shapes, feathers forming a protective cocoon of warmth. The world becomes quieter around them. Winds slow, temperatures fall, and the atmosphere thickens with the gentle stillness of evening. In this moment, the boundary between bird and world dissolves into a peaceful unity, breath, body, and sky resting together. Imagining this scene, your mind follows the same path. Thoughts draw closer, sensations settle, and the quiet weight of night wraps around you like soft wings, encouraging you to sink more deeply into your own restful silence. The feathers of a bird, though soft to the touch, are among the most intricate natural structures on Earth. Each feather is composed of a central shaft with hundreds of barbs that branch into even smaller barbules, creating a flexible lattice that can hold or release air with astonishing precision. When a bird adjusts its plumage, it is not merely grooming it, is recalibrating an aerodynamic instrument tuned to microscopic airflows. Some feathers even contain pressure-sensitive cells capable of detecting subtle turbulence before the bird consciously registers it. Imagining these delicate adjustments, tiny shifts, soft alignments, barely perceptible movements, allows the mind to mirror that same subtle rebalancing, quietly settling into a state of greater ease as though smoothing its own internal feathers. The subtleties of their movement extend beyond the wings. Birds possess a remarkable energy economy, balancing periods of intense exertion with long stretches of stillness. When gliding, many species can reduce muscle activity by more than 90%, allowing gravity and thermal currents to carry them without effort. Their tendons lock automatically, enabling wings to remain extended with minimal energy. This effortless suspension in air creates a mental image of deep calm, an image the brain instinctively connects with safety and rest. As you picture a bird drifting without strain, your own body may feel lighter, as though unnecessary tension were gradually dissolving, releasing you more deeply towards sleep. Their internal chemistry supports this graceful efficiency. Birds carry high levels of myoglobin, a protein that allows muscles to store additional oxygen, permitting sustained flight without fatigue. During long migrations, some species even metabolize their own fat reserves with extraordinary precision, burning energy slowly and cleanly like a candle that refuses to flicker. This slow, steady release of energy resonates deeply with the body's desire for stability during rest. As you visualize that even burn, that constant nourishment, you may feel your own metabolism settling into a softer rhythm, heart rate slowing, breathing deepening, the entire organism preparing for a long, peaceful night. Communication among birds reveals forms of intelligence that do not rely on words but on patterns, rhythms, and subtle cues. In flocks, decisions are made in fractions of a second, yet no single bird leads. Instead, leadership ripples momentarily through individuals, passing like a quiet wave. These shifts are often triggered by minimal signals, a change in speed, a slight tilt of the wings, transmitted through the group with astonishing cohesion. This kind of collective awareness mirrors the slow synchronization that occurs in the human brain during the transition to sleep. Neurons begin to fire more rhythmically, aligning their pulses into gentle waves that drift across the cortex. Imagining the flock's effortless coordination helps the mind slip into that same unified flow where thoughts no longer compete but drift together in quiet harmony. Even more extraordinary is the way some birds navigate through complete darkness. Migratory species often travel at night, relying on a delicate blend of magnetic perception, star patterns, wind cues, and even the faint polarization of moonlight. Their retinas contain photoreceptor cells sensitive to polarized light, a phenomenon invisible to humans, which allows them to detect shifts in the angle of the sky as a compass. During these nocturnal journeys, the world becomes a soft, muted space for them. The air cooler, the sounds gentler, the horizon blending into shadow. Imagining this quiet nighttime flight, air smooth, stars steady, wing beats slow, creates a deeply calming mental landscape, one perfectly suited to easing the mind into sleep. And as they fly through the night, their bodies enter a unique physiological state. Heart rate lowers slightly, temperature drops, and muscle contractions become more economical. Some species fall into micro-rest cycles mid-flight, each lasting less than a second, tiny moments of unconsciousness woven seamlessly into movement. These brief rests do not interrupt their trajectory. Instead, they accumulate, offering restoration without stopping. When you imagine these subtle dips into rest, tiny, gentle descents into darkness, the mind learns to surrender in the same way, slipping quietly into sleep without effort, breath by breath, like drifting on a current that knows exactly where to carry you. Deep inside a bird's inner ear lies a structure known as the vestibular system, an elegant balance detector that allows them to navigate turbulent air with astonishing steadiness. This system contains tiny crystals resting in fluid-filled chambers, which shift and slide in response to motion. With every gentle tilt of the head or subtle change in acceleration, these crystals float softly, sending signals that help the bird maintain perfect orientation. Imagining these tiny particles drifting in their fluid chambers, slow, smooth, weightless, brings a similar sensation to your own mind. It encourages a quiet rebalancing within you, a feeling of soft grounding, as though your thoughts were calming into alignment, each one settling into its proper place, like feathers smoothing along a wing. Their sense of color extends far beyond human capability. Birds possess 4 types of cone cells in their retinas compared to our 3, allowing them to perceive ultraviolet wavelengths invisible to us. Flowers glow with hidden patterns for them. Feathers shimmer with signals humans cannot see. Even the sky itself holds information, polarized light patterns that shift through the day, guiding direction and timekeeping. When one imagines this expanded palette of light, the mind enters a state similar to twilight vision. Details soften, edges blur, brightness fades into gentle gradients. This mental dimming is deeply connected to the onset of sleep. Neuroscientists have found that when the brain visualizes soft, diffuse light, the activity in the visual cortex decreases, easing the transition into slower, more restful brainwaves. Their foraging behavior reveals a delicate balance between precision and intuition. Many birds can remember hundreds of food locations, using spatial memory far more advanced than that of most mammals. Others follow subtle patterns in wind scent, humidity, or soil chemistry to find nourishment. Yet even in these focused tasks, their movement remains unhurried, economical, quietly deliberate. Imagining a bird wandering through a meadow, pausing to sense a shift in the air, adjusting its posture with calm precision, brings a sense of peaceful intention. It encourages the mind to slow its pace, to release urgency, to let thoughts drift the way a bird drifts through open grassland, aware but unburdened. Energy conservation is a central feature of avian life. When perched, many species allow tendons in their legs to lock automatically, enabling them to sleep without falling, even while grasping a branch high above the ground. Their bodies are built to rest efficiently, using minimal energy to maintain posture. This effortless stability, this ability to remain secure while half asleep, creates a soothing mental image. It mirrors the human body's transition into deeper stages of sleep, where muscles gradually deactivate and the nervous system adopts a peaceful stillness. As you imagine a bird gently swaying on a branch, barely moving, safely cradled by nature, your own body invites in that same quiet stillness, settling deeper into rest. In social species, the bonds between individuals extend far beyond simple companionship. Many birds recognize the calls of their mates across enormous distances. Some greet each other with ritualized dances, soft chirps, or synchronized movements that strengthen their connection. These rituals create a sense of belonging that carries emotional resonance even in humans imagining them. The brain responds naturally to imagery of gentle social harmony. It releases small amounts of oxytocin, the hormone associated with trust and relaxation. As you picture these quiet exchanges, 2 birds preening each other's feathers, or a flock roosting close together for warmth, you may feel a loosening inside you, a soft warmth filling the chest, easing tension, soothing the heartbeat. And as dusk deepens, the world becomes a sanctuary for resting birds. The last currents of warm air fade, leaving the sky cooler and still. Leaves rustle with softer patterns. Shadows lengthen into calm silhouettes. Birds sense these shifts not as signals of danger, but as invitations, nature's gentle reminder to fold into themselves, lower their breathing, and surrender to the safety of night. In this imagined moment, your own body mirrors the rhythm of the settling forest. Breath by breath, thoughts soften into blurred outlines, sensations melt quietly into darkness, and the boundary between waking and sleep dissolves like the final light slipping behind the horizon. High above open landscapes, rising columns of warm air called thermals lift gently into the sky. Birds sense these invisible pillars not with sight, but with the subtle pressure changes along their wings and feathers. As they enter a thermal, the air wraps around them like a smooth spiral, carrying them upward with almost no effort. Gliders like eagles and storks can ascend thousands of meters simply by circling within these columns, allowing the atmosphere itself to do the work. Imagining a slow, gentle ascent spiraling upward without strain induces a similar effect in the human nervous system. The mind feels lighter, thoughts drift upward and outward, and tension loosens as though caught in a warm current rising toward a quieter state of being. Within the synchronized flow of a flock, birds share a remarkable distributed intelligence. When starlings form murmurations, vast, swirling clouds of thousands moving as one, each bird monitors only the movement of its nearest neighbors. Yet these local interactions create sweeping, hypnotic shapes across the sky. Scientists studying murmuration patterns discovered that information moves through the flock at speeds faster than the reaction time of individual birds, almost like a wave of intention passing instantly across the group. Visualizing this collective motion smooth, fluid, quietly coordinated, helps the resting mind shift into coherence, mirroring the slow alignment of brainwave patterns as consciousness transitions into deeper sleep. In the nest, another world of quiet biological precision unfolds. Bird embryos develop in eggs kept at nearly constant temperatures, maintained through careful turning and positioning by attentive parents. Inside the egg, feather follicles form delicate spirals, heartbeats strengthen in rhythmic pulses, and neural pathways begin to organize themselves according to ancient genetic blueprints. Some studies suggest that embryos can even hear faint sounds through the shell, responding to the vibration of parental calls. Imagining this sheltered, warm, perfectly controlled environment, life forming in gentle darkness, creates a sense of deep security, encouraging the body to release its final layers of tension as it prepares for rest. Bird brainwaves reveal an intricate pattern of rest and vigilance. During sleep, many species generate slow wave oscillations similar to humans, but with one remarkable difference. They can isolate these waves to a single hemisphere. One side of the brain sinks into deep restorative sleep, while the other maintains quiet awareness, monitoring surroundings for safety. This unihemispheric sleep allows them to rest on water, on cliffs, or in open sky during migration. The idea of resting partially, gently, without losing all awareness, mirrors the earliest stages of human sleep, those drifting moments when the mind releases control but still senses the world faintly. Imagining this balance encourages your own mind to let go gradually, without fear, slipping softly into dreams. Some birds carry what biologists describe as a form of genetic memory, instincts encoded so deeply that even birds raised in isolation can navigate thousands of kilometers along routes their ancestors traveled. These migrations follow ancient pathways shaped by coastlines, magnetic lines, and seasonal winds. The birds do not calculate these routes. They feel them, as though the earth itself were whispering directions through the soles of their feet or the fibers of their feathers. Thinking of this innate wisdom, this gentle guidance from the world, invites a powerful sense of trust. It reassures the body that rest is natural, that sleep is not a task, but a returning in alignment with rhythms older than thought. And then there is the soft mystery of birds that hunt or travel by night. Owls possess densely packed photoreceptors and specialized retinal structures that amplify the faintest glimmers of light, allowing them to see in near darkness. Their flight is nearly silent. Microscopic serrations along their wing feathers break up turbulent air, removing noise before it forms. In the quiet darkness, they move like shadows, seamless and unhurried. Visualizing such silent flight brings a profound stillness into your own body, the kind of silence where thoughts fade into soft outlines. The air around you feels thicker and calmer, and the mind settles into the deep, velvety quiet that precedes sleep. In the vast open sky, long-distance migrants undertake journeys so extreme that they stretch the limits of biology. The Arctic tern, for instance, travels from pole to pole over 70,000 kilometers each year, following winds and ocean currents with astonishing precision. During these migrations, their bodies shift into a specialized physiological state. Digestive systems shrink temporarily, muscles redistribute energy, and the liver releases stored fats in gentle, continuous waves. This ultra-efficient metabolic flow resembles a slow-burning lantern, steady, warm, unwavering. Imagining this sustained, unhurried energy helps the human mind settle into a similar mode of conservation, encouraging a soft, even rhythm in breath and heartbeat as the body eases towards sleep. Within their brains, birds store detailed mental maps of landscapes stretching hundreds of kilometers. These maps contain not only visual landmarks, but also smells, temperatures, and the faint electromagnetic signatures of regions they pass. Homing pigeons, for example, combine multiple senses to orient themselves, weaving air pressure, scent plumes, and solar position into a seamless internal compass. This multi-layered memory system is both precise and fluid, allowing them to adapt while remaining effortlessly guided. As you visualize this gentle guiding sense like an inner compass that always points you toward calm, you may feel your thoughts loosening, drifting into a softer, more spacious awareness, where direction comes not from effort, but from instinctive relaxation. Their emotional intelligence reveals itself in surprisingly tender ways. Many species comfort their mates through soft calls or gentle preening, lowering each other's stress levels through touch and sound. Some birds even grieve the loss of a partner, altering their routines and vocalizations. This emotional sensitivity mirrors the human capacity for bonding and reassurance. Simply imagining two birds perched together, feathers touching lightly as they settle into night, evokes a sense of warmth and connection. The brain responds with a release of calming neurochemicals, smoothing internal tension and helping the mind shift into a restful state where safety feels present and immediate. Nest building is another expression of quiet intelligence. Birds construct shelters using twigs, grass, mud, feathers, even spider silk materials chosen not randomly but based on weight, insulation, flexibility, and airflow. Some weave tight spirals that hold warmth efficiently. Others build loose, airy structures that ventilate heat. Each motion, placing a twig, pressing the walls gently, turning the inner cup, follows instinctive patterns refined through generations. Imagining this careful shaping, this purposeful crafting of a quiet sanctuary, gently encourages your own body to soften into its resting place, sensing the bed beneath you as something supportive, warm, and safe, your own nest for the night. The movement of wind through feathers is a kind of conversation between bird and sky. As gusts rise or fall, feathers vibrate with subtle frequencies that inform the bird about turbulence and direction. These vibrations are not chaotic. They form patterns, ripples, slow oscillations that travel through the body like soft waves. When researchers measured these frequencies, they found many fell within ranges known to calm mammalian brainwaves. Imagining those gentle feather vibrations like a soft hum or the faint tremor of wind brushing against a quiet room can help your own neural rhythms settle into slower, smoother patterns, guiding you toward deeper calm. Within a flock settling for the night, communication becomes softer, almost ceremonial. Quiet contact calls pass between individuals, confirming safety, presence, and belonging. These sounds are subtle: a gentle trill, a soft peep, a breath-like whistle. They serve as reassurance that all is well, that the group is intact, that the darkness holds no threat. As you imagine this chorus of soft nighttime calls, each one a small gesture of comfort, your own mind may mirror that sense of communal safety. The world feels gentler, quieter, easier to release into. Thoughts drift like fading echoes, and the boundary between awareness and sleep begins to dissolve in the calm of shared silence. At the core of every bird's endurance lies a circulatory system engineered for both power and serenity. Their hearts, proportionally much larger than those of mammals, pump oxygen-rich blood through the body with elegant efficiency. During intense flight, blood moves rapidly to fuel the wings, yet in moments of rest, especially at dusk, the rhythm slows into a gentle, steady pulse. This shift is guided by a finely tuned interplay between sympathetic and parasympathetic responses. Imagining this effortless modulation, a heart that accelerates like a breeze, then slows like settling evening air, encourages your own heartbeat to soften, to lengthen, to sink into a tempo that prepares the body for deep sleep. The muscles that power flight are composed of specialized fibers rich in mitochondria, the tiny organelles that produce cellular energy. Birds have among the highest mitochondrial densities in the animal kingdom, enabling their muscles to sustain motion for extraordinary lengths of time. Yet even with this biological power, their movements remain smooth, controlled, almost serene. There is no unnecessary strain, no wasted energy, only the quiet precision of bodies designed for air. When you imagine this graceful muscular flow, your own body begins to echo it. Tension unwinds, shoulders release, limbs grow heavy, and the deeper layers of muscle follow a similar path into calm. Within flocks, the cohesiveness of movement is supported by something biologists call social facilitation, subtle cues exchanged between individuals that align behavior without conscious intention. A bird adjusting its angle by a mere degree can trigger a soft chain reaction throughout the group, each member responding almost before recognizing the signal. This quiet synchrony mirrors the way the human brain shifts into sleep, neurons firing not chaotically but in coordinated waves, each pulse influencing the next until the whole system flows in unified rhythm. Imagining this flock-like coherence helps the mind settle, drifting from scattered thoughts into smooth, organized waves of restfulness. Birds also possess barometric sensing abilities, allowing them to detect minute changes in atmospheric pressure that precede shifts in weather. These subtle readings guide decisions on feeding, migration, and roosting. A slight drop in pressure signals approaching storms. A rising trend invites travel. This sensitivity creates a kind of intuitive harmony with the environment, an ability to respond calmly to the world's slow changes. As you imagine this gentle attunement to the air, your own awareness begins to relax. The future loses urgency. The present stretches softly. The body, like a roosting bird, prepares to settle into stillness. The aerodynamics of their feathers reveal another layer of quiet mastery. The primary flight feathers form the outer hand of the wing and can angle independently to control, lift, and minimize noise. When spread slightly, these feathers channel air through narrow gaps, reducing turbulence and creating a smoother, quieter flow. Owls, in particular, have evolved fringed edges on their feathers that break up airflow, allowing them to fly in near silence. Visualizing this silent passage through air, the world muted, movements frictionless, draws the mind into a deeply calming space where thoughts become faint whispers and the background noise of consciousness softens into silence. When protecting their nests, many birds do so with quiet vigilance rather than aggression. They monitor surroundings through sound, vibration, and faint movements of air. Even as they rest, one eye may remain slightly open, one ear attuned, allowing them to guard without fully waking. This state of gentle alertness mirrors the earliest phase of human sleep, when you are not entirely gone but drifting, suspended between worlds. Imagining this half-wakefulness, soft, safe, unthreatened, helps dissolve the boundary between wakefulness and sleep. Breath slows, limbs grow heavier, awareness begins to dim like light fading behind clouds. In the stillness of evening air, birds rely heavily on their remarkable auditory architecture to navigate the fading world around them. Their ears, although hidden beneath delicate feathers, contain elongated canals that amplify subtle sounds, thin breezes shifting through leaves, distant wing beats of other birds, the soft rustle of grasses. These layers of sound form a sensory landscape far more textured than what humans perceive. For birds, silence is never empty. It is a soft field of gentle cues. Imagining this textured, quiet sound that exists only as delicate ripples in the air helps the human mind detach from sharp sensory input. Thought becomes less defined, more ambient, blending into the background the way wind blends into feathers. Collective memory plays a significant role in flock behavior. When birds migrate, they do not travel as isolated individuals, but as carriers of communal knowledge. Routes refined over countless generations are reinforced through synchronized behavior. Younger birds adjust their paths by following slight deviations made by elders, absorbing these microcorrections into their own mental maps. This shared memory is fluid, adaptive, quietly intelligent. Visualizing this gentle transfer of knowledge, minute corrections, drifting like whispers through a group, encourages your mind to follow similar patterns. Instead of forcing decisions or grasping for clarity, thoughts can drift into alignment naturally, smoothly, like birds finding formation in the dim light of dawn. The biomechanics of wings reveal a harmony of structure and motion that borders on the poetic. Each downstroke is powered by strong pectoral muscles, while the upstroke engages smaller muscles designed for fine control. Tendons, ligaments, and feathers work together with perfect timing to produce lift. Yet, when soaring, these complex mechanisms fade into stillness. A bird may extend its wings and let the world carry it. Imagining this transition from motion to effortless glide helps the body release its own effort. You may feel a soft surrender spreading through your shoulders, your chest, your limbs, as your inner rhythms begin to float like wings settling onto a warm current of air. In certain coastal regions, birds encounter faint traces of marine bioluminescence, glowing organisms that shimmer beneath the waves at night. Although birds cannot always see the glow directly from the sky, they can detect the subtle shifts of light bouncing through the atmosphere. These rare glimmers create patterns that help orient them during nighttime travel, offering faint, dreamlike signals that guide their path. Imagining this natural glow, soft, blue-green, pulsing gently beneath the surface, has a calming effect on the visual imagination. It draws the mind into deeper darkness, where shapes soften and light flickers like distant stars. This visual dimming quiets neural activity and eases the body further into rest. Their ability to stabilize migration routes relies on an elegant interplay between internal mechanisms and external cues. Birds integrate solar position, magnetic fields, wind currents, and even atmospheric sense into a continuously updated navigational model. This integration happens seamlessly, without conscious effort, through neural circuits that blend sensory data into a single, intuitive direction. Thinking of this effortless orientation, always knowing where home is, without needing to think, invites a similar inner quiet. You are reminded that rest does not require problem solving. It asks only for release, for trusting that your mind knows how to drift naturally towards sleep. As night deepens, many birds shift into a specialized metabolic state that conserves energy while maintaining warmth. Their body temperature may drop slightly, breathing slows, and the heart adopts a steady, unhurried rhythm. Muscles relax into minimal tone, feathers puff to trap heat, and the entire organism drifts into a state that resembles a peaceful suspension. Imagining this soft metabolic descent, warmth held close, energy flowing slowly, quietly creates a mirror within your own body. You may feel your breath settling into deeper waves, your muscles loosening one layer at a time, and your thoughts fading until they resemble nothing more than gentle impressions, like silhouettes dissolving into night. Deep within the avian brain lies a structure known as the hippocampal complex, responsible for spatial memory and long-distance navigation. In many species, this region expands during migration seasons and contracts when the birds settle, following gentle, seasonal rhythms. This biological ebb and flow resembles the turning of tides, soft pulses of growth, then retreat carrying maps of coastlines, valleys, thermal routes, and distant resting places. Imagining this slow, tidal movement of memory invites your own thoughts to rise and fall without urgency, to soften their edges and to loosen their grip, drifting the way evening light slowly releases itself into darkness. A bird's sense of smell is far more refined than most people imagine. In species like albatrosses and storm petrels, the olfactory bulbs are large and exquisitely sensitive, allowing them to trace faint chemical signatures across the open ocean. Molecules carried on the wind salt, seaweed, distant land create invisible pathways that guide them effortlessly across thousands of kilometers. When you picture this scent map flowing gently through the air, the mind adopts a similar softness, a sense of direction that requires no effort, no tension. Simply a quiet, drifting toward the natural path of rest, you begin to feel guided inward toward the calm that sleep invites. Light, too, is more than illumination for birds. It is a quiet metronome regulating their internal clocks. The tone, angle, and brightness of daylight sends subtle messages through the brain, adjusting hormones and shaping behavior. The first pale light of morning awakens metabolism, while the warm, elongated glow of dusk slows their breathing and settles their feathers. Imagining these soft transitions, dawn rising gently, dusk descending like a warm veil, helps regulate your own internal rhythm. You feel the day loosen its hold and the night open around you like a quiet, protective space. During long flights, especially at high altitudes, wings must regulate heat with precision. Tiny blood vessels beneath the feathers expand or constrict to release or conserve warmth. Cool air flows between layers of plumage, carrying away excess heat. In cold conditions, feathers fluff to trap a gentle pocket of warm air. This silent thermal dance creates a harmony between body and sky. When you imagine this balance, heat slipping away where needed, warmth held close where it matters, you may feel your own body finding its equilibrium, settling into a temperature that feels calm, neutral, ready for rest. A bird's ability to sense Earth's magnetic field remains one of nature's quiet mysteries. Some researchers believe special proteins in the retina allow birds to see magnetic lines as faint visual patterns. Others point to iron-rich crystals in the beak that may detect magnetic tilt. Whatever the mechanism, it gives birds a dependable sense of direction, even in total darkness. Imagining this natural orientation, the world offering guidance without words, creates a profound inner reassurance. Just as birds travel through night guided by invisible forces, your own mind moves gently toward the deeper layers of sleep, supported by instincts far older than thought. Wind tunnel studies show that feathers act as a sensory network, detecting microscopic vibrations as air flows around them. These vibrations ripple through the wings in soft, rhythmic waves, steady, calming, almost melodic. Like the hush of waves on a shore or the faint patter of rain against a quiet window, these patterns naturally soothe the brain. As you visualize these subtle oscillations flowing across a bird's body, you may feel your own thoughts falling into the same gentle cadence, slow, even, peaceful, each wave carrying you deeper into stillness. And when night finally settles, birds gather into roosts where safety is shared. They draw close, exchange faint contact calls, and reassure one another with their presence. This quiet closeness transforms darkness into a sanctuary. Imagining this circle of safety, Your own invisible flock surrounding you with warmth and quiet belonging helps your body relax further. The breath softens, the chest loosens, and the mind drifts toward the edge of sleep, guided by the same instinctive peace that moves through a roosting flock beneath the gentle cover of night. High above quiet landscapes, where the air thins and the world softens into gradients of blue and gold, birds reveal one of their most elegant physiological secrets. A heart capable of shifting effortlessly between power and stillness. During intense flight, their hearts beat with remarkable speed, delivering oxygen with unbroken precision. Yet when they settle into evening roosts, this same heart slows into a calm, measured rhythm, smooth, steady, unhurried. Imagining this transition, the gentle lowering of pace, the body tilting toward rest, encourages your own heartbeat to follow. Each beat lengthens slightly, each breath deepens, and your physiology begins to drift toward the soothing cadence of sleep. The architecture of their wings is a masterpiece of natural aerodynamics. The leading edge slices the air smoothly, while the trailing feathers fan out to disperse turbulence. When a bird glides, micro-adjustments occur along every feather, tiny shifts too subtle to see, but powerful enough to redirect invisible rivers of wind. These adjustments happen automatically, without effort, through a symphony of muscle memory and sensory feedback. When you imagine this seamless flow, air slipping past in gentle streams, feathers responding without strain, your own mind begins to imitate that ease. Thoughts drift, not by force, but by the natural tendency of a quiet mind to follow smooth, continuous motion. Many bird species form lasting social memories, recognizing individuals even after long separations. A faint call, a subtle posture, the rhythm of a wing beat, these cues are stored in complex neural networks that encode familiarity and trust. Reliving such memories activates calming biochemicals, lowering stress and reinforcing social bonds. When you imagine a bird reuniting with a familiar companion, soft chirps exchanged, bodies relaxing into shared presence, you may feel a similar warmth within yourself. The chest softens, the mind loosens. A quiet sense of belonging begins to take shape, guiding you gently toward emotional stillness. As night settles, a bird's metabolism shifts into a slow, protective state. Body temperature dips slightly, conserving energy. Feathers rise to trap warm air, forming a delicate insulating shell. Breathing becomes shallower, yet more rhythmic, soft waves rolling through the chest in perfect consistency. Visualizing this descent into night physiology helps your own body mirror it. You may feel your muscles cooling, your limbs growing heavier, your breath turning into something softer and more regular. The world around you dims, not abruptly, but in a long, gentle exhale of consciousness. Acoustic communication among birds takes on a different quality after sunset. Their calls become lower, smoother, designed not to travel far but to reassure those close by. These nighttime sounds resemble soft pulses, tiny notes that drift through the darkness like drops of water on a still pond. Imagining these gentle sounds has a measurable calming effect on brain activity. It reduces cognitive loading, allowing broader networks to synchronize into slower, more restful rhythms. You may feel your mind responding now, as though those faint calls were floating in the space around you, each one nudging you deeper into quiet. During sleep, Many birds experience brief episodes of unihemispheric rest moments in which one half of the brain sleeps while the other maintains a soft vigilance. These microcycles happen seamlessly, allowing birds to sleep on water, on narrow branches, or even during long migratory flights. Visualizing this delicate balance, half dreaming, half aware, mirrors the earliest borderlands of your own sleep. You begin to drift, still faintly aware of your surroundings, yet unable to hold on to thoughts with the same firmness. The mind loosens, the edges blur. You hover in a gentle, suspended place, neither fully awake nor fully gone, guided slowly inward by the soft gravity of rest. And above all, birds exist in a quiet harmony with the atmosphere that holds them. They do not fight the air, they read it, respond to it, and allow it to guide their movement. Imagining this peaceful relationship with the world, the body yielding instead of pushing, drifting instead of striving, invites your own consciousness to surrender. The air around you seems to thicken with stillness. The breath becomes shallow, smooth, and you feel yourself beginning to sink, not downward, but inward into the vast, quiet world that opens only when the mind is ready to rest. High above the earth, where daylight fades into a soft blue haze, birds move through layers of atmosphere that humans can barely imagine. Each layer has its own temperature, density, and rhythm. Birds sense these variations not through conscious effort but through the delicate feedback of their feathers and skin, tiny changes in air temperature, faint differences in pressure, the subtle vibration of a rising thermal. These sensations form a quiet map of the sky, guiding them with effortless precision. When you imagine this gentle sensory world, soft air flowing, signals drifting through the body like whispers, you may feel your own awareness growing lighter, more diffuse, as though the edges of your thoughts were dissolving into the air around you. Deep within the avian brain, complex networks generate patterns of electrical activity that shift with each stage of rest. During wakefulness, neurons fire rapidly, forming intricate patterns that allow for navigation, communication, and decision-making. But as birds settle into the night, these patterns begin to slow, aligning into broader, smoother waves. These waves resemble the early phases of human sleep, rippling gently, spreading through the brain like slow-moving currents. Imagining these neural tides, soft oscillations, spreading through the mind encourages your own brain to adopt a similar rhythm. Thought becomes quieter, more continuous, flowing in long, unbroken lines toward rest. The structure of a flock at night creates a shared sense of safety. Birds gather in clusters where each individual watches a small piece of the world, forming a communal shield against danger. This distributed vigilance means no single bird must remain fully alert. Awareness is shared, allowing each one to drift deeper into rest. When you imagine this soft, collective protection warm bodies close, the quiet murmur of reassurance, you may feel a similar comfort spreading through your own mind. The world feels less sharp, less demanding, as though you too are held within a gentle circle of calm. Birds conserve energy with remarkable finesse. Their bodies shift into states that reduce metabolic demand, lowering heart rate, reducing muscle activation, even decreasing temperature in certain species. This nighttime economy functions like a dimming lantern, light still present but softened, steady, calm. Visualizing this gentle dimming helps your own body follow suit. You may feel the warmth from your core radiating outward in slow pulses, your limbs becoming pleasantly heavy, your breathing settling into a smoother, more regular flow. Each exhale carries a little more weight, a little more quiet, guiding you deeper into the softness of night. During nocturnal travel, many migratory birds enter a unique psychological state, focused yet serene. They navigate with calm precision, integrating star patterns, magnetic fields, and wind direction into a stable sense of movement. There is no urgency in their flight, only steady progress through the dark. Imagining this night travels smooth motion, calm direction. The world reduced to quiet sensation invites your mind into a similar focused stillness. You drift forward without effort, carried not by thought but by a deeper, older rhythm. And when a bird descends, letting its wings fold and its body settle into rest, the motion is almost weightless. The descent is not a drop, but a release, gravity becoming a soft invitation, not a force. The moment the bird touches down, its muscles ease, its breathing slows, and the world closes gently around it like a blanket. Imagining this landing smooth, silent, effortless creates a similar sensation within you. The body yields to stillness, the breath becomes shallow, the mind begins to settle into its inner roost, ready to slip into darkness with quiet acceptance. As night expands across open landscapes, birds become sensitive to microclimates, subtle variations in humidity, warmth, and airflow that shift from moment to moment. Their skin and feathers detect changes so slight that humans would never notice them. These faint signals help a bird choose the perfect roost, a branch where the air is still but not stagnant, where warmth gathers quietly, where the breeze hums with a gentle balance. Imagining this delicate search, slow, instinctive, guided by sensations softer than breath, invites your own awareness to attune to comfort. You begin to notice the weight of the air around you, the softness beneath you, the gradual settling of your body as it sinks deeper into rest. Blood flow in birds adapts elegantly to the demands of day and night. During flight, blood rushes quickly to the wings and chest. During rest, it slows, redirecting warmth to the core. Smooth vascular contractions guide these transitions, each pulse gentle and unforced. When you imagine this quiet modulation, blood flowing calmly, warmth concentrating softly, you may feel heat settling into your own center. Fingers and toes grow cooler, the torso warmer, creating the perfect thermal gradient for sleep. It is the same gradient that encourages birds to tuck their heads beneath their wings, sealing warmth close and letting the world fall away. Sleep in birds occurs in cycles as fluid as the motion of their wings. Short periods of slow-wave rest drift into moments of lighter awareness, then slip back again. These oscillations are not interruptions, they are part of a natural ebb and flow, a rhythm shaped by millions of years of adaptation. Imagining this gentle cycling mind dipping into stillness, rising slightly, then sinking again helps you release the expectation of perfect stillness. Sleep does not require rigidity, it requires surrender. Your thoughts may wander, drift, dissolve, and each time they settle, they do so a little deeper. Migration relies on a subtle kind of neurobiology. Deep inside the avian brain, clusters of neurons fire in patterns that encode directional preference, tiny electrical murmurs that point a bird toward home. These patterns respond to magnetic fields, celestial rotation, and even the faint curvature of atmospheric winds. When you imagine these soft neural signals steady, quiet, certain, you may feel a similar clarity settling into your own mind, a sense that you too are being guided gently inward toward a place of rest that requires no effort to find. Touch, though rarely considered in birds, plays a profound role in their sense of safety. Feathers brushing against one another, light pressure along the wings, the gentle lift of air moving beneath them. These sensations form a tactile language that tells the bird it is secure. When roosting in a flock, small shifts and soft touches from neighboring birds reinforce reassurance. Imagining these faint contacts, the softest brushes, near weightless pressure, invites your body to release tension. Shoulders loosen, the spine softens, and your nervous system begins to recognize the quiet presence of safety. Wind itself becomes a kind of memory for birds. Its patterns, scents, and shifts embed themselves in neural networks that help guide movement. A familiar wind can signal direction, season, even the nearness of home. When you imagine the wind as memory, as something soft, drifting, and deeply familiar, your own thoughts may begin to loosen their grip on the present. They stretch backward and forward gently, like breezes flowing through open branches, creating space for rest to gather. Beneath their feet, birds sense subtle vibrations traveling through the ground, tiny tremors caused by footsteps, rustling leaves, or distant movement. These faint cues help them choose stable perches and detect changes in their environment. Imagining this quiet sensitivity awareness that perceives only what is necessary, letting everything else fade, invites your own mind to narrow its focus. The unnecessary noise of the day slips away. What remains is a soft hum of awareness, steady and gentle, easing you into the threshold where wakefulness thins and sleep begins to take shape. Birds see the world in a way that feels almost dreamlike to humans. Their visual processing is so fast that motion appears smoother, more continuous, as though the world were unfolding in a gentle flow rather than in separate frames of perception. Colors arrive through 4 types of cone cells, giving them access to ultraviolet hues that shimmer softly along feathers, petals, and distant horizons. Imagining this expanded palette, subtle tones blending into one another, light dissolving into gentle gradients, draws your mind into a softer mode of seeing. Edges blur, brightness fades, and the world around you becomes quieter, as though night were already beginning to settle behind your eyes. At dusk, a bird's internal clock initiates a shift toward calm. Melatonin begins to rise, guiding the body into a state of gentle withdrawal. Muscles loosen, the breath cools, and the mind drifts towards slower, broader waves of thought. These hormonal rhythms follow patterns shaped by millions of sunsets, each one teaching the body how to prepare for rest. When you imagine these rhythms flowing through you, your own system responds in kind. You begin to feel the heaviness behind your eyelids, the slow descent of breath, the subtle sinking of awareness as you enter the first quiet moments of sleep. Energy conservation becomes a quiet art at night. Birds reduce unnecessary movement, tuck their heads beneath their wings, and compress their bodies into shapes that minimize heat loss. The geometry of their feathers creates tiny pockets of warm air that remain still and comforting, like hidden blankets. When you imagine this containment of warmth, soft, enclosed, sheltered, you may feel your own body responding. Your limbs grow heavy, your breath shallows, and heat gathers gently at your core as though you were wrapping yourself in a natural cocoon designed for rest. The surfaces of their wings are shaped with exquisite precision. Each feather overlaps just enough to guide air smoothly, minimizing drag while maintaining lift. During rest, these same feathers shift slightly to create a perfect insulating layer. The dual nature of wings, powerful in motion, protective in stillness, mirrors the balance your mind seeks as you fall asleep. Imagining this duality, you sense a calm strength beneath the quietness, a feeling that your body is supported even as it relaxes, held gently by the softness of the moment. Nighttime navigation requires a special kind of sensory blending. Birds studying the sky detect subtle rotations of constellations, the faint polarization of moonlight, and the nearly imperceptible tug of Earth's magnetic field. These cues create an internal map that remains stable even in complete darkness. Visualizing this stable map, a calm center that remains constant despite the surrounding shadows, brings a sense of stillness to your own thoughts. You no longer feel the need to guide yourself. Instead, you drift, knowing the path towards sleep is already charted deep within you. Within flocks, nighttime brings a different kind of communication. Not the lively calls of daytime, but soft murmurs and brief notes meant only to reassure. These sounds form a quiet protocol of presence, each bird offering a small signal that all is well. Imagining these soft nocturnal cues, barely audible, warm, familiar, has a deeply soothing effect on the human nervous system. It evokes the feeling of being accompanied, of resting within a gentle community of calm. As these imagined sounds fade into the background, your own thoughts begin to thin, dissolving into silence. And in that silence, a bird's body enters its deepest state of rest. The world becomes distant, the air cool and still, the breath steady. Imagining this moment, wings folded, eyes half closed, chest rising in slow waves, invites your own consciousness to follow. You feel your awareness sinking, like a feather settling through dim light, unhurried, guided only by gravity and softness. Each passing moment carries you closer to the threshold where sleep waits, open and quiet, ready to receive you. Across the cooling sky, as the last warmth of the day rises from the earth, birds drift through layers of air that change with exquisite subtlety. Warm currents lift them gently, cooler currents sink beneath their wings like soft, invisible tides. These thermal gradients create a quiet architecture in the atmosphere, pillars, waves, and slopes of temperature that guide each glide. Birds read these gradients instinctively, adjusting their posture by millimeters, allowing the air itself to carry them. When you imagine this seamless relationship with the sky being lifted without effort, you may feel your own mind rising into a state of weightlessness, as though the air around you were supporting your thoughts, letting them drift freely and without resistance. Their cognitive processes at night shift into something resembling a form of minimal awareness. During rest, birds suppress unnecessary neural activity, allowing only the calmest and most essential patterns to remain. Thought, for them, becomes simple, soft impressions rather than deliberate reasoning. This cognitive quietude mirrors the human mind's transition into non-rapid eye movement sleep, where thinking loosens, images soften, and reasoning dissolves into gentle sensations. Imagining this state, where consciousness narrows to a peaceful core, helps your own mind slip out of complexity. Thoughts lose weight, inner noise thins. Awareness becomes a quiet ember, glowing steadily in the dark. Feathers, when examined closely, reveal microscopic structures that trap air in delicate lattices. These lattices insulate the body, but they also modulate sound, scattering vibrations so that the bird's movements grow nearly silent. Each feather functions like a soft acoustic filter, absorbing the sharpness of the world. When you imagine those tiny filaments, thousands of them interlocking and releasing with each breath, the mind begins to mirror that layering of softness. The world grows muted. Thoughts come not as sharp notes but as distant echoes, fading gently before they fully form. And in that fading, you find a deeper stillness waiting for you. In flocking species, nighttime creates a shared field of calm. Birds maintain subtle distances, adjusting their bodies in tiny increments to stay connected yet comfortable. These micro-adjustments form an emotional geometry trust, expressed not through sound but through presence. When you imagine yourself within such a geometry, a quiet circle of bodies at rest, each one offering safety, you may feel your chest loosen, breath spreading into deeper spaces. Your nervous system interprets these imagined signals as reassurance. You are safe, you are held, you can let go. As birds travel beneath the moonlit sky, their brains release a blend of neuromodulators that sharpen orientation while softening stress. Dopamine provides calm focus. Melatonin encourages drowsiness. Small pulses of serotonin stabilize mood. This chemistry creates a state of serene awareness, awake enough to navigate, relaxed enough to drift. Imagining this neurochemical balance helps your own body find something similar. You feel alertness draining from your limbs, but not from your sense of comfort. The world narrows to a quiet interior landscape where everything moves slowly, smoothly, like currents beneath a still lake. When a bird finally settles onto its roost, the act of landing is a gentle surrender. Wings fold inward, feathers fall into place, and the body eases into stillness with no tension held. The transition is fluid, one moment suspended in the air, the next embraced by the branch beneath. Visualizing this smooth descent encourages your own awareness to yield. You feel the invisible perch beneath your thoughts, the subtle support carrying you, the gentle lowering of the body into rest. And as you imagine this landing, breath by breath, you sense yourself approaching the same threshold, descending not downward, but inward, into the quiet nest of sleep. As night deepens, a bird's visual system shifts into a state of extraordinary sensitivity. Photoreceptors in the retina reorganize their function, adapting to low light with remarkable efficiency. Rod cells become dominant, gathering even the faintest glimmers of moonlight or distant starlight, while cones quiet themselves into near stillness. This transition creates a world of soft outlines and muted tones, shadows blending into one another, movements dissolving into gentle curves. When you imagine seeing through this nocturnal vision, your own inner landscape transforms. Edges blur, light dims. Everything becomes washed in a slow, velvety darkness that invites the mind to release its hold on detail and sink into rest. Air currents at night move differently from those of the day. Without the sun heating the ground, thermals weaken and the atmosphere settles into smoother, more predictable flows. Birds drifting in this softened air experience less turbulence, allowing their wings to glide with minimal correction. Each motion becomes elongated, almost dreamlike. Imagining this quiet air, the world moving in long, steady strokes, helps slow your own inner rhythm. Thoughts lengthen into soft lines, the pace of the mind decelerates, and awareness begins to hover gently between wakefulness and sleep. Within a resting flock, birds synchronize their breathing without conscious intention. The subtle rise and fall of bodies creates a shared rhythm, a slow collective wave of inhalation and exhalation. This group coherence has a calming effect on each individual. Stress hormones decrease, heart rates stabilize, and the body enters deeper rest. When you imagine breathing in harmony with such a flock, one gentle rise, one gentle fall, you may feel your own breath settling into a more peaceful cadence. Each inhale arrives like a soft tide. Each exhale carries you a little further from the noise of the day. Their feathers become an insulating chamber during the night. Tiny interlocking filaments trap pockets of air, creating layers that hold warmth with delicate precision. Heat radiates from the body in slow pulses, filling these layers like a quiet glow. When you imagine this warmth contained, gentle, unmoving, you may sense a similar cocoon forming around you. The air near your skin feels softer. Your limbs sink deeper into stillness. A warm envelope surrounds your thoughts, carrying you further into calm. Even the ground beneath a roost vibrates with subtle information. Small oscillations caused by distant footsteps, shifting branches, or the soft settling of the earth are detected through the bird's feet, providing a sense of stability and reassurance. Imagining this faint, steady vibration beneath you, like the heartbeat of the earth itself, encourages your body to feel supported. Anxiety loosens, muscles melt. The world seems to hold you gently, allowing you to descend deeper into rest. And when a bird finally drifts towards sleep, its consciousness does not shut down abruptly, it unwinds. Awareness fades in soft spirals, each one drifting further from the surface. The bird's body surrenders to gravity in tiny increments, feathers settling, breath slowing, eyes closing in gradual, delicate stages. Imagining this unwinding, this gentle descent, helps your own mind mimic the journey. Thoughts loosen, the body grows heavier, and you feel yourself sliding, slowly and peacefully, into that quiet inward darkness where sleep begins to take hold, a place as soft and still as a moonlit feather drifting through night air. In the dim blue of the late night sky, birds experience light not as brightness, but as rhythm. Even the faintest lunar glow sends gentle signals through the brain, guiding hormone release and helping stabilize internal clocks. These light cues do not stimulate, they soothe, easing the brain into patterns that mirror the softness of dusk. When you imagine this faint glow light so gentle it feels like a memory rather than a sensation, you may feel your own thoughts drifting into a deeper stillness. The mind no longer seeks sharp images or clear definitions. It settles into a quiet illumination, soft and warm, like moonlight resting on still water. Silence, for birds, is not the absence of sound, but the presence of calm. In the late hours, the air carries fewer vibrations, allowing quiet to spread through the world like a gentle wave. Feathers pick up only the slow movements of the night, distant branches shifting, the whisper of a breeze bending around them. Imagining this deep silence creates a similar effect within you. Sounds grow distant. Thoughts become whispers. The world narrows into a single, delicate moment where nothing needs to be done, nothing needs to be held. You feel suspended in a restful hush that seems to stretch endlessly in every direction. The avian balance organ, located deep within the inner ear, becomes exceptionally sensitive during rest. Tiny crystals suspended in fluid drift with the slightest movement, adjusting posture and stabilizing the body. These floating particles move so slowly, so gently, that they create a sensation of weightlessness, an inner equilibrium. When you imagine these crystals drifting inside you, like soft grains of sand sliding through a dream, your own sense of balance becomes calm and grounded. The body relaxes into alignment. The breath deepens. A quiet internal harmony takes shape, inviting the mind to drift even deeper. As birds settle, heat redistributes through their bodies in waves. Warmth gathers around the core, then radiates outward in soft pulses, filling the feather layers with a gentle, steady glow. This thermal choreography is subtle but deeply comforting. Imagining this flow of warmth, slow, rhythmic, balanced, helps your own body find a similar state. You may feel warmth concentrating in your chest and abdomen, while your limbs soften with growing heaviness. This natural gradient mirrors the early stages of human sleep, signaling safety and inviting deeper surrender. Wind becomes a kind of memory for birds, especially at night. The way it moves, its temperature, its scent, all contribute to a quiet sense of orientation. Even without seeing the world, they feel it through the wind. Imagining this subtle guidance, a breeze that always knows the way, helps remove the pressure of thinking. You no longer need to push yourself towards sleep. You drift, gently and naturally, letting the current of rest carry you. Your mind begins to follow that imagined wind inward, deeper, softer, quieter. During flight, a bird's brainwave patterns often synchronize with the rhythm of wing beats. Even when resting, this memory of rhythm lingers long, smooth cycles that gently repeat. Imagining this steady cadence, a rise, a fall, a glide helps your own brain settle into slower, more unified waves. The mind begins to hum with soft continuity, as though following an ancient rhythm buried deep within. This is the rhythm that precedes dreams, slow, heavy, patient. And finally, as a bird closes its eyes for the night, a subtle ritual unfolds. Feathers align, breath steadies, awareness narrows into a warm point of softness. The world does not disappear. It simply fades into the background, leaving only comfort, stillness, and the gentle pull of sleep. Imagining this ritual, the slow folding of wings, the soft tucking of the head guides your own consciousness toward the same quiet surrender. You feel the inward drift beginning, the soft descent, the peaceful weight of rest settling over you like a sheltering wing. In the depth of night, when the world becomes a tapestry of shadow and muted sound, birds begin to perceive low-frequency vibrations that humans rarely notice. These faint tremors travel through the air and along branches, revealing the presence of distant movement or shifting wind. To birds, these vibrations feel like slow, rhythmic pulses, gentle reminders of the world's continuity. When you imagine sensing the world this way, through waves rather than details, your awareness begins to soften. Thoughts cease to arrive as sharp forms and instead come as slow ripples, each one stretching farther apart until the mind drifts in long, quiet intervals. The air at night forms layers that move with remarkable predictability. Without the sun heating the earth unevenly, nighttime winds glide in smoother paths, creating gentle corridors of motion. Birds adjust their wings by tiny degrees to rest within these currents, conserving energy while remaining aloft with minimal effort. Imagining these quiet corridors, soft channels of air that carry you without resistance, invites your mind into a similar pathway. You feel held, supported, guided by something subtle and perfectly steady, letting you drift without the need for control. Within a resting flock, birds experience a kind of subconscious synchronization. Their bodies settle at nearly identical rhythms. Their breathing slows in unison. Even their micro-movements mirror one another. This shared stillness forms a collective calm, a soft network of reassurance. When you imagine yourself within such a network, surrounded by quiet, gentle presences, your body responds with a deep sense of safety. That feeling of being watched over, even in silence, relaxes your muscles and quiets your thoughts, letting the edges of consciousness grow soft and distant. Their eyes, which sharpen dramatically during the day, release their tension as night falls. Pupils widen slowly to draw in the faintest traces of light, then hold that openness in a kind of peaceful suspension. This widening is not about vigilance. It is about allowing the world to come to them gently, without focus or strain. Imagining your own inner gaze widening, not straining, simply opening, helps dissolve mental tightness. You stop trying to see or understand. Instead, you allow the darkness to settle comfortably around your awareness, like a soft blanket. The relationship between breathing and wing motion forms one of the deepest rhythms in avian physiology. During flight, each wing beat subtly alters airflow around the body, guiding breath in and out with remarkable efficiency. Even at rest, this remembered rhythm lingers in the nervous system, creating a quiet internal cadence. When you imagine this breath rising like a wing lifting, breath falling like a wing folding, you may feel your own breathing synchronizing with a deeper, older pattern. Each inhale becomes a gentle ascent. Each exhale becomes a soft glide towards stillness. As birds prepare for sleep, they conduct a subtle form of scanning, listening for familiar frequencies, sensing the comfort of their surroundings, ensuring that the world is calm enough to release awareness. This final check is instinctive, calm, and swift. When they settle, they do so completely. Imagining this moment of surrender where vigilance softens, where the world feels safe enough to drift away, helps your own mind release its final hold on the day. You sense everything loosening, expanding, softening, as though the world itself were exhaling with you. And as consciousness begins to melt, the boundary between thought and silence slowly dissolves. The mind no longer moves in lines or sentences, but in waves, broad, gentle strokes of sensation. This is the threshold birds inhabit in their deepest rest, a place where the world is distant but not gone, where awareness lingers only as a faint glow, where sleep is not an arrival but a slow sinking, like a feather descending through a vast, quiet night sky. Birds possess an inner sense of direction so subtle and steady that it feels almost timeless. It allows them to find the same valley, the same cliffside, the same branch year after year, guided not by thought, but by the quiet signatures of the earth itself. Magnetic fields, atmospheric scents, wind textures, all of these weave together into a map held deep within their nervous system. When you imagine this map not sharp or detailed, but soft and instinctive, you may feel your own inner compass loosening. You no longer need to choose a direction. You simply drift toward calm, guided by something deeper than thought. Far above, the sky at night becomes a gentle matrix of signals. Birds read faint gradients of starlight, the slow rotation of constellations, the pale scatter of moonlit clouds. These celestial cues do not shout, they whisper, they invite rather than command. Imagining this soft sky, the world illuminated only by distant, trembling stars, draws your awareness upward and outward into a vast, quiet space where worries cannot hold their shape. The more you picture this high, tranquil world, the more your thoughts stretch and dissolve into it, thinning like mist. Air density shifts subtly with temperature, humidity, and altitude. Birds sense these tiny changes through their skin, feathers, and even the pressure within their hollow bones. Each variation tells a story about the coming weather, the state of the atmosphere, the safety of rest. When you imagine detecting the world through these gentle gradients, soft pressure changes, slight movements in the air, you begin to understand stillness differently. Not as the absence of motion, but as the perfect balance of forces. And in this imagined balance, your body begins to settle, finding the exact posture where effort disappears. Between each feather lies a network of microcurrents, thin streams of air that move softly as the bird breathes or shifts. These flows cool the body or hold warmth, depending on need. At night, when the bird tucks its head into its plumage, these microcurrents become slow and predictable, forming a stable cocoon of air. Imagining these tiny air streams, gentle, ordered, rhythmic, can bring a similar stability to your own breath. Each inhale feels cushioned, each exhale feels supported. The air around you becomes softer, more forgiving, as though wrapping your body in invisible down. Deep within a resting bird, heart rhythms synchronize with slow, deliberate breaths. This harmony creates a physiological quiet, a steady, unbroken flow of calm through the bloodstream. Imagining this coherence inside yourself helps your own systems align. Pulse and breath begin to move together, forming a shared cadence. The chest expands with no resistance. The body loosens its grip on the day, and the mind begins to echo this inner symmetry, drifting in long, rounded waves of thought that soften as they come. During rest, the memories of the day unravel gently. Images, sensations, and patterns drift through the mind, becoming lighter with each passing moment. Nothing is held tightly. Nothing demands attention. This gentle unweaving mirrors the twilight state of many birds who release their daytime vigilance and let their awareness flow into soft, unfocused impressions. When you imagine this unraveling memory thinning like threads in warm water, you feel your own thoughts loosening. They stretch, fade, dissolve, until only a quiet glow remains. And as sleep begins to draw near, consciousness descends in a slow, graceful arc. Not a drop, but a glide, a gentle downward curve through layers of quiet. This descent feels like floating through dim light, or sinking into warm feathers, or exhaling into endless softness. Birds follow this path instinctively, and as you imagine yourself following it too, your body yields, your breath deepens, and your mind glides toward the still, welcoming darkness of sleep, a darkness as gentle as a hidden world carried beneath silent wings. And now, as the last threads of wakefulness loosen and the world around you fades into softness, imagine a distant flock settling into the hush of night. High branches sway gently beneath their resting bodies, and the cool air carries the faintest trace of warmth tucked beneath their feathers. One by one, their breaths fall into slow, steady rhythms, a quiet chorus of life easing into rest. No urgency remains, no vigilance, only the deep, instinctive knowing that it is safe to surrender. The sky above them darkens into a soft, endless velvet, and the earth below becomes a muted cradle, holding them lightly in its vast, patient silence. This silence is not empty. It is full of calm, full of space, full of the deep assurance that everything can pause for a while. As you imagine this scene, you may feel that same stillness blooming gently within you, settling across your chest, softening your brow, easing the final tensions of the day. Thoughts become feathers now light, drifting, unable to hold shape. They float for a moment, then dissolve into the darkness, leaving behind a field of quiet where only your breath remains. Each inhale arrives like a soft wing rising. Each exhale glides downward into deeper rest. And with every breath, you drift further into a place where the mind no longer tries to navigate, because there is nowhere to go except into the gentle dark beneath your own awareness. You are safe here, held here. Like a small bird tucked beneath warm plumage, you belong entirely to this moment of stillness. The world does not need anything from you now. Not your attention, not your effort, not your thoughts. Everything can wait, everything can rest. And so, as the night settles fully around you, allow yourself to slip into its embrace. Let the rhythm of your breath guide you deeper. Let the quiet carry you. Let sleep rise to meet you like a silent current, lifting you effortlessly into its open arms. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to hold, only the soft descent, the gentle drift into deep, unbroken sleep. Good night, rest deeply, and dream in the quiet world only birds know.